Hey everybody, welcome. Aloha, I'm Natalie, and this is Life After a Cult, the channel where we expose cult nonsense, laugh at the absurdities, and we hopefully unbrainwash ourselves in the process. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with the one, the only Wise Beard Man. Many of you are already familiar with Mark Bunker and his channel, Xenu TV. And if you do not yet know Mark Bunker, you're welcome in advance because this is going to be a fun chat. Mark Bunker has been around for a very long time. He was never in Scientology, but all in on ending this cult. Thank you, moderators, for being here and helping out today. And everybody in the live chat, I so appreciate that you're here. And if you're on the replay, jump in those comments. Let me know your questions and your thoughts. I love hearing from you as well. So on the replay, jump on in. I do like to go in and can't answer everything, but I've been really trying lately. So jump on in there. Oh, it's so fun. I'm seeing people I saw in the live I did earlier. JB, I'm so glad you're here. Good to see you. Oh, Paralyzed to Paralyze is here. Bring in the facts. That is awesome. All right, everybody. Without further ado, let me introduce the one, the only Wise Beard Man, Mark Bunker. Welcome to Life After a Cult.
Why, thank you. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Now, let me show quick. Let me pull up your channel here. For people who don't know, when I say Xenu TV, this is what we're talking about. This is Mark Bunker's channel. And he has the most amazing content. He's got, Mark, you've got, right off the bat, just like massive kudos, because you have taken so much previously recorded content and put it into 4K so that it doesn't offend our eyes.
I do my best. It's terribly exciting to take some of this footage that I shot way back in like 99 in standard def and make it look better than it looked when it was shot.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, some people who are watching this weren't even born then.
Sad but true.
Yeah. Can you tell everybody, for our audience and people new to the channel too, kind of how you got started and how you got the name of Wise Beard Man?
Well, I got, excuse me, I should have started practice talking before I got on here.
That happens to me often in the mornings. I'm like, I should be doing some kind of vocal exercises.
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
So I started back in like 98, the end of 98. I was afraid to show my name. So on Alt Religion Scientology, the news group, I called myself Ben Wog. And after about a year or so, I decided I would give myself a doctorate like L. Ron Hubbard. And I became Dr. Benjamin Wog.
Mhm.
And I had some video editing equipment and the ability to capture video at a time when there was very little video on the web. And I thought, here's a way I can help in spreading information about Scientology. So I started doing that, and got a camera thanks to Bob Minton, who was a retired millionaire international banker who took on Scientology starting in 1995. And he eventually became my boss at the Lisa McPherson Trust when I first moved to Clearwater at the beginning of 2000. So I've been taking on Scientology ever since then. And I just find it a fascinating hobby.
Yeah. And then you got the name Wise Beard Man during the anonymous protests.
That's true. In 2008, when Anonymous put up their video attacking Scientology, I was working at a TV station in San Diego, and I watched that, late at night. My shift ended like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., something like that. And it freaked me out. I felt those poor people manning the phones at Scientology, they must be incredibly shocked right now. And there were some things that I saw when I went online in one of their forums. People were saying like, let's go down to the parking lot and put sugar in the gas tanks and all this kind of stuff. So I decided, I should make a video about this. And I talked to Anonymous and said, listen, what you do, you should do it legally. Because you have to understand Scientology is a dangerous cult. And they were saying at that point, if one of us falls, 10 more will rise. And I tried to make the point, well, that's good for everybody except the one who fell. And really no one should have to risk going to jail for playing a prank on Scientology. And unfortunately, one or two people did. But for the most part, the people who, and I thought, the only thing that was online really about Anonymous at that point was a local newscast story about Anonymous from a Fox News affiliate that just said this is a dangerous terrorist group. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to make this video to them, and they'll likely attack me as well. Hey, what do you know? Shut up. And instead they said, hey, let's listen to this guy.
Yeah.
And they dubbed me Wise Beard Man. And that kind of stuck. So it was really an interesting thing. And I just cautioned them, how to go about things in a relatively proper way.
Yeah.
Based on the Gandhi Tech picketing rules that Jeff Jacobson used to and still shares online, which is, let Scientology be the ones who are the jerks.
Yeah.
Just be there, get your message out, and if anyone's going to be causing trouble, it should be the Scientologists. And that's always been, the way I've handled everything video-wise, because I've captured some incredible footage over the years of Scientologists coming up to my camera and saying the most horrible things. And I tend to just let them have their say, because it's just fascinating footage.
Yeah, it really is. How many years of footage do you think you have? Like, when did you started recording? Was it in 99?
Yeah. And so I've been at this 27 years now, recording for 26. And I sat down and realized that the other day. I went, oh, God, it's been 27 years I've been at this.
Yeah.
And I haven't shut down Scientology yet, oddly enough. But yeah, it's something that I've enjoyed doing. I just find it fascinating. And I used to say endlessly fascinating, but it may end at some point.
Has anything surprised you in all the years that you've been doing this? I mean, a lot of things. For example, I often find myself saying, oh my gosh, I was shocked by this, something in regard to Scientology, even though I know it's totally on brand for them. Some things still shock and surprise me. And for a while I was thinking, why does it still shock and surprise me? It shouldn't. And I realized, it should, because it is disturbing behavior. And honestly, since I've been on YouTube, that has helped me so much to see much of what happened in the past, whether it was involving myself or my family or Scientology in general, and recognizing how shocking and horrific it is. And you have covered so much and recorded so much that what's it like for you? Because, I grew up in Scientology, and so it was always that way. And I'm kind of on the other end of that now, going, whoa, this is so crazy. But as someone who was never in Scientology, when you first started seeing all this and throughout the years, did your viewpoint change at all about kind of how shocking it was, or is it just that's expected?
Well, I mean, the initial shock when you first, find out what Scientology is and how they've attacked people. I mean, that it's hard to surpass that first shock. But there have definitely been things that have surprised me over the years. And some of those are good things, like the rise of Anonymous. I mean, to see thousands of people taking to the streets all across the world was pretty damn shocking. When critics would gather to protest prior to that, like when I first went to my first picket in '99, if people flew in from around the world to LA, it would be maybe 50 people at the most.
Yeah.
And now there were tens of thousands of people everywhere, even in cities with small cities with just a mission or an org. Um, there were people there on the streets. And then, of course, the next huge shock was Tom Cruise going nuts and jumping on Oprah's couch, and then South Park doing their episode. That was
Yeah.
a turning point, I think. I was shocked early on at how the media was really unwilling to take on Scientology.
Mhm.
And that came from Scientology suing Time magazine back in 1991, I think it was, 1991. And it was 10 years that they fought in court before Time magazine won. But during that time, the rest of the media was gun shy. They wouldn't do stories on Scientology.
Mhm.
I remember going into the CNN headquarters in LA back in '99 and talking to somebody there about, Scientology stories. And they told me, listen, we prepared 3 stories recently on Scientology and the lawyers refused to let us put it on the air. But once Tom Cruise went nuts and South Park said, sue me, and they weren't sued, then the rest of the media said, wow, I guess we can start reporting on this.
Mhm.
And they started by reporting on Tom Cruise and then quickly started being more boldly willing to do stories on Scientology again. So those type of sea changes surprised me. Personally, I was surprised when I found myself arrested and being locked up in a jail cell in Chicago when I was trying to interview 2 dentists there who were trying to get back $20,000 they paid for courses in advance. And the Scientology hired 2 off-duty police officers who were waiting there at the org in Chicago for like a couple hours, being fed all these lies about how dangerous I was.
Yeah.
And by the time I arrived there with the dentist and was trying to shoot a little bit of video, asking them something about the org there, before they could answer, these 2 guys in black leather jackets came running out of the building, straight past the dentist, grabbed me by either arm, and arrested me for trespassing while I was on a public street. And, I went in, I was booked, I was fingerprinted, I got my delightful mugshot. I think it's one of the best pictures of me ever. And then they put me in a jail cell, slammed the door, and I just sat there going, I can't believe I'm in jail. And I enjoyed it for a couple hours. Luckily, that was all I had to stay there because I was a little tired of it by the end of 2 or 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood trial over that. I had to go back and stand trial. Cost Bob $60,000 to defend me. But
Wow.
we were trying to prove, Scientology immediately was telling everybody back in Clearwater, before I even arrived back in Clearwater, they're telling everyone at the local businesses, watch out for this guy. He's dangerous. He's just been arrested.
He just got out of jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come out with some new tattoos.
all of that was pretty damn surprising. What Scientology does, I don't know that there's anything that's they can do that would surprise me, except, shut down. That would delight me and surprise me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the ultimate goal. And I do think, so I'm going to answer this before I ask it of you, because I get this question a lot. When do you think Scientology will end? Do you think Scientology will ever really end? I think that it will always exist in some form. I think there are some diehard believers. And if they want to practice Scientology, sans the abusive practices, right? If they just want to believe in body thetans and Xenu and audit out their, alien parasites, then, knock yourself out. the policies of disconnection, the lengths that that Scientology goes to harass critics, break up families, all of those things. It just seems like it's taken so long just to get to this point. I mean, when you think about, if you go back through, and I'm speaking to the audience too, if you go back through Mark Bunker's channel at Xenu TV and you see some of the older footage, you really realize how long this has been going on, and how much truth has already been out there. I rewatched the Jesse Prince video that you released, and thank you, by the way, for doing that and putting it in 4K. I recapped that, I think it was yesterday. It's so powerful, but it made me realize, like, wow, these people have been like, hey, this is what's happening for such a long time, yet Scientology still existed. I think a changing point has been the internet.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but what do you think about that when it comes, if you're asked, like, do you think Scientology will ever actually end?
Yeah, it's hard to have anything like that disappear entirely. You're right. Scientology is going to continue to exist in some way, shape, or form. And if people want to, as you say, audit and go up the bridge, there's a free zone that is out there. They do all the same stuff, and I have no problem with them. They're not, actively attacking people with fair game and all of this kind of stuff. But my feeling is, if it's hard to stop any line of thought from ending because look, there's still people who believe that the earth is flat.
Yeah.
And there are still people out there who think Hitler was right.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be somebody who's going to believe in Hubbard. And all you can do is kind of point out the truth and let them go on their merry way. It's only when they start to interfere with other people's lives that I think we need to step up and at least speak out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've got a couple questions here for you from the audience. But totally off topic, but I just have to acknowledge this. Congratulations, Itchy Thaton's got a promotion since the last live. That's amazing. Good for you. That's so exciting.
Very nice.
I love that. I love getting to know people in the chat, and I love that they share what's going on in their lives with each other, because then when they come in the chat again, they like catch up. It's this whole universe of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the wonderful things about the way the net is now, how you create a community.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, question for you from me and Taz. Mark, did you get involved in politics because of Scientology or because you like politics?
Well, I do like politics, but if I wasn't in Clearwater, I probably would not have run for office. Here, I got to know Gabe Casares. I got to know he was the mayor that was in office when Scientology snuck into town back in 1975, and they attacked him viciously. I got to know Ray Emmons, who was the retired police lieutenant who spent 20 years investigating Scientology. And these people really cared and tried to make a difference in Clearwater. And having moved here in 2000 for a couple of years, I really enjoyed being here. It's a nice community, a beautiful city on the beach, but Scientology is such an oppressive force downtown, and no one seems to be willing to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So I moved back here in 2013 with the hopes to maybe run for office sometime. I joked in at least one video about running for mayor. And then I decided, because I was asked about that one time by Joe Childs from the Tampa Bay Times.
Yeah.
He wondered if I was going to run for mayor, and I said, I don't know about that. But then a couple of years later, I decided council. I'll run for council, get my foot in the door, learn some stuff about it, and then after that, maybe run for mayor. And that was a fascinating experience. I was thrilled that I won. I really enjoyed my 4 years on the council. I wish I was still there, especially seeing the folks who have replaced me and have taken the council in a different direction when it comes to Scientology and everything else. But it was fulfilling, not just to kind of tackle Scientology there, but also in every other way that I could help the people who lived in Clearwater. It was very fulfilling.
So,
and I'm considering doing it again.
I think that you should. Are they 4-year terms?
They are. You can have 2 4-year terms. It used to be that there were no term limits. So like one of the guys I served with, Hoyt Hamilton, spoke recently at this meeting. He got up right before me, and he was incredibly forceful. He was first elected in 2017. On one of my recent videos, I said he was elected in 2020, but no, he was on the council in 2017 who told Miscavige, no, we don't want to play with you. We don't want to accept your downtown. And that's what made Miscavige go, all right, I'll wait for the next council. And then the next council, he got me. And then last year, he got the council of his dreams. He got a couple of new people who are willing to give Miscavige anything he wants. And that is really disturbing. Through my time on the council, I kept that fighting spirit of Gabe Casares in me. And there's so many people who have been harmed by Scientology over the years. If I could make a little bit of difference on the council, I was thrilled to have that opportunity. And I didn't take it for granted. I was appreciative every day I was in office. So, people are asking me if I'll run again. It's possible. It's possible. Oh, but the reason I got off into a tangent here, but the reason I brought up Hoyt was Hoyt, first elected in 2017. He took a little time off between there, but he came back to the council. He was the one who was very upset that I won the election. And I won the election because there were 5 people in the race, and I got the majority of the votes, but not over 50%. And he was pretty upset about that. And so he said, we got to change the way people vote here. You should have 50% of the votes before you take office. So we have to have runoffs. And when I first ran, I think total, I raised like $17,000 total. And the majority of that went to my political consultants, who were getting like $900 a month. And Hoyt, I pointed out to Hoyt in one of the council meetings when he's talking about this, Hoyt, I really would have much rather enjoyed, instead of running against 4 other people, I would have loved to have run unopposed like you did several times. So, I mean, is that fair? But he was insistent, and so that was a question on the ballot during the last race. Should we have runoffs? And that won. So
let me ask you,
harder to win again.
What would a runoff be? Would it be voting again? I guess I'm not familiar with what that is.
Yeah, a runoff is okay. You run your first campaign, people vote, and it's not 50%. Okay, you're gonna have several months now to campaign again, just you and the other top candidate. And the thing is, I exhausted all my money well before the end of the first election. If I had to raise more money after that, I would have been just slaughtered by, the big moneyed interests who were running against me. So, I was concerned about that, not just for me, but any any candidate who's not backed by a gigantic party,
Yeah.
or people with money. People with money didn't necessarily care to support the guy who was, stirring up trouble when it comes to Scientology.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people willing to donate, including Scientologists, to people opposing me. This last race, though, when I ran for re-election, Aaron took care of that problem. He almost single-handedly raised like $57,000 for my campaign, which was astonishing. So I had
Aaron it growing up in Scientology.
Yeah, so I had a significant war chest this time, which was necessary, but still not enough to battle the folks in the business community who were backing Scientology for some odd reason.
Yeah, that seems very counterproductive.
Scientology is a part of our Chamber of Commerce, which is called Amplify Clearwater. And they were. Here's one thing that I was very proud that we got past is the people in this one neighborhood who live on Drew Street. It's a very fast street. People go racing through there. There's almost an accident a day. There have been multiple deaths. There are cars that crash into homes and businesses.
Wow.
So the people there for the longest time have been begging the city to do something about that. And we passed on my council some changes to bring safety to that street. It was not easy. We had a lot of opposition, but we got that done. And I thought, well, great, that's wonderful. And the folks who were adamantly, some of the folks adamantly against it was the Chamber of Commerce people who were saying it's going to hurt business downtown if the traffic slows down a little bit on Drew. It's like, and I made a point of calling them out in one of the meetings that the problem downtown is not traffic.
Yeah.
The problem downtown is your partner Scientology, and you should be talking to them and having them put businesses in these empty buildings and not try to, interfere with the safety of the folks living on a street that's a feeder street, but still. So we got that passed, and then, man, the Republicans went into overdrive to get rid of me. And they got their candidates on the council then, and they killed that. It was on track finally to start being changed, and that was killed. So
wow,
stuff like that is frustrating.
Yeah, I can see how it would be. What do you think about the current Clearwater City Council members meeting individually with David Miscavige?
Well, that's not unusual. In fact, when I was on the council, Miscavige wanted to meet with everybody except me.
Wait. He tried. Did he meet with everybody but you? He wanted to,
No.
For sure. That's crazy.
He wanted to because at that point, they were talking about a land swap. Miscavige still wanted a piece of property that the city bought out from under them back in 2017. And at that point, Miscavige had pitched this beautiful, beautiful plan for downtown to each of the council members who were there at the time, including Hoyt Hamilton. There was only one council member who refused to go and meet with Miscavige. But the other four of them got to see the whole pitch. He later published it in Freedom Magazine that was delivered to the doorstep of every individual in Clearwater the morning after Tracy McManus and the Tampa Bay Times had their amazing story about how Scientology had been buying up all the buildings downtown and leaving them empty for months and months and months.
Yeah.
So they had this magazine ready to go the second that story dropped. And people were furious, calling up the police, saying, they have my name on here. They got into apartment complexes that were locked. somehow they were able to get in the wee hours of morning and
Were they, Mark?
hand deliver.
Were they all hand delivered?
Yes,
How many
yes, it
residents
was.
are we talking about, or how many homes?
Well, I mean, well, they saved time by not delivering one to me,
Yeah.
but but it seems like they delivered one to virtually every home in the area,
Wow.
and you know, that's when you have the Sea Org, I suppose you can do that.
Yeah, when
Okay,
you got
everybody,
free
you're not going
labor.
to sleep tonight. Yeah, here you
Mhm.
go. So yeah, but people were really furious about that. But in the magazine, he laid out. Do I have it sitting here next to me? Well, as a matter of fact, I do. It's right here.
Ooh.
Uh, it,
So you wake up and
building,
here's your Freedom magazine at your
yeah,
doorstep, creepily from Scientology.
building a great city. So his what he wanted to do was that he told the city, listen, I will put facades on all the businesses downtown. We'll make them look pretty. I have a guy in Tampa who recruits businesses. We'll bring businesses down to all of those buildings. Tom Cruise and I are going to build a movie theater and a nightclub,
What?
and it's going to be
Him and Tom
spectacular.
Cruise? Tell me,
Yeah, that
I don't remember hearing this. Was that in the magazine or this was part of his pitch?
it's part of his pitch, and I think it's also in the magazine. I don't know if he brings up Tom Cruise in the magazine. I haven't read it in a
But he
number
did
of
in the
years.
pitch for the city council.
Yeah, but the whole thing was, yeah, Tom and I are going to build this entertainment complex, movie theater and nightclub and all sorts of other elements to it.
I just can't
And
imagine Scientology doing a nightclub.
I'm not saying they'd serve drinks, but
JB says Club Xenu.
yes,
The hot spot in town.
yeah.
Club
We
Xenu.
actually were kind of purposely pimping on Scientology back in 2000 at the LMT when the Lisa McPherson Trust. There were two people, Peter and Patricia, who made a horrible movie for Bob. It was funded by Bob about L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology called The Prophet. And $2.5 million was wasted on that movie. But Peter designed rides and shows at Universal Studios and other theme parks. Like the Back to the Future ride was one that he designed, and when you're on the tram and you see King Kong, that was his project. So
Wow.
he had experience doing that for a number of years. And he had some designs for a nightclub that was Club Xenu. And it just these cool science fiction-esque type of things. And we kind of put that on alt religion Scientology. Here, coming soon, Club Xenu, just to get Scientology worked up. It was never going to be a reality. But it's fun every once in a while just to poke them with a stick. So the council members all got this amazing pitch. This guy from Tampa was going to put the businesses in there. Oh, it's going to be spectacular. And the council at that point.
Mark, what did the other council members say about you not being invited to have your one-on-one with Miscavige? I mean, did no one see that as odd, or why would that be? Did they say anything?
Well, so we can't talk with one another on the council. So if there's something that was going to be before us, if there was a vote on Scientology, they couldn't come to me and say anything about it, even if they wanted to. But no one really cared. But the thing is, those meetings never happened. It kept getting pushed down the road. Every week, each of us individually would sit down with the city manager to talk about what's going on, what the staff are working on, what's going to be on the agenda in the next meeting. So we could ask questions. We could say, well, I'd like to put this on the agenda. These are things that I want to see worked on. So I was aware that Miscavige said he wanted to meet with everyone on the council for a land swap. he wanted to get a piece of property still that he was lusting after, which was the property that the aquarium bought to move downtown back around 2017. And Scientology just stopped that project in its tracks and ruined it because Miscavige didn't want people in his backyard.
So how
And
did
then
he
had
stop it? By not doing the land swap?
well, the land swap came and went. They could never come to terms before an actual meeting happened. But I was told by the city manager, this is Miscavige's plan. He wants to meet with everybody except you, Mark, except you.
Wow.
And every chance I had, anytime that somebody from the city was going to talk to Miscavige, I volunteered. I'll go with you. But so ultimately, that never happened, and then this morphed into the new plan. Still the same details, still the same promises of bringing downtown to life. Just give me the property I want. And now it's turned into, I want that street. You got to sell me Garden Street. We have to have it. And the city is not even fighting back. It's like, okay, we've got new council members now who are just saying, sounds like a great idea. Let's build that L. Ron Hubbard Hall. Can we invest in it too?
Scientology is still trying to say, or David Miscavige is trying to put forward that, well, if we do this, I now could then go and do those facades downtown, bring in businesses, all the things he said he would do 10 years ago, but never did.
Right. And, my mantra the entire time was, my argument through my entire 4 years on the council was, what's stopping him?
Yeah.
He's got all the properties. He's got the guy in Tampa who can recruit businesses. Go ahead and do it. And when you do it, then we can, give you what you want. But you have to go first, Miscavige. And that is what I think kind of threw a monkey wrench into Miscavige's plans. And they just figured, well, we're never going to get this with Bunker on the council. So let's work to get him off the council.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how they do the long game?
Yeah.
Scientology is all about the long game.
It's got a 1 billion year, timeline on this project. So what does he care?
Exactly.
It's just astonishing. So nobody said, hey, I refuse to go meet with Miscavige. And I would have said at a council meeting, yeah, go ahead, talk to him. I'm not upset with anyone talking to Miscavige, but just be aware of what he wants, how he operates, and that he can't be trusted. He stabbed the city in the back repeatedly over the decades. And it's insane to think that he's now suddenly going to be the redeemer. And another point that Hoyt made from that 2017 vote, when they refused to give him that property, the council at that point said, if we did that, if we allowed Miscavige to completely redo the downtown and control the whole thing, people would not come downtown because Miscavige is in command of it. And hello, I mean, you talk to anyone now, why don't you go downtown? I don't want to put money in Scientology's pockets.
Yeah.
So if, what makes you think it's going to change if suddenly we do have businesses down there? Which is why I asked in the last meeting, well, what's going to happen for Miscavige if a business fails? Does he have to put another business in there and another? Does he have to replace businesses constantly in all the buildings because they're all failing? What if he puts enough pressure on them that they do all fail on purpose? So he can go, no one wants to come downtown for some reason. Oh, well, and just tear down all those buildings and put up expensive high-rise for condos for wealthy Scientologists, because that now seems to be the future for downtown Clearwater. I thought, while I was on the council, I thought we had a chance to turn things around. We had taken some steps that I thought were really important. And if Miscavige has his way now, it seems to be the death knell for our downtown.
Yeah. So all these buildings that Scientology owns in Clearwater that sit there empty with nobody down below.
Mm.
I guess where I get confused is I don't understand why, especially like Ryan Cotton, who just seems to just be like, seriously into this. I don't understand how he would think, if you look at history and the history with Scientology and the Clearwater City Council and the history of Scientology in Clearwater. And I mean, right, isn't that the great predictor of the future, is look at, well, what did happen? What was done?
Sure.
And it seems as if Miscavige has a new, kind of like whole dog and pony show with what's going to happen if L. Ron Hubbard Hall becomes a thing. And Ryan Cotton, and who's the other guy? Mike
Menino.
And then Ryan Cotton's stepdad seemed to be pretty down with it as well, whose name I also forget.
It's a father-in-law. I made a mistake on. It was my fault. I was on watching Aaron reporting on this, and for some reason, because I remember when like a year before the elections, David Albritton, who's the father-in-law of Ryan, came up to me as we had lunch before our meetings. Every Thursday when there was a meeting, we would all meet upstairs and have a meal catered. And he sheepishly said to me, I'm sorry, Mark, my son is planning to run for office, and he wanted to run for mayor. We said, no, you don't want to do that. And so instead he ran for my seat rather. And it's amazing. You would think that you'd have an understanding, because I got to tell you, there's other folks in that family who are adamantly opposed to Scientology and were cheering me on.
Really? Do tell.
Yes. No, I'm not going to tell, because it's not,
I'm like, let's get the dish on Ryan Cotton.
No, there was somebody that I met who's intimately involved with the family. And they are as opposed to Scientology as I am. So to see Ryan thinking, the most charitable is, dadgummit, by Lord, by the grace of Jesus, we're going to turn things around downtown. We can't do things the way they've always been done. For God's sakes, we have to get things done now. No kicking the can down the road. For God's sakes, now, this moment. But it's insane. It's insane. And Miscavige is refurbishing 3 buildings on Cleveland Street that he started to show the city, okay, I can play nice. Give me what I want now, which at that point was a space for an L. Ron Hubbard museum. And we said no. So the museum is now wrapped into the gorgeous L. Ron Hubbard Hall, which is going to be another nail in the coffin of our downtown.
Because it looks humongous.
Yeah, and it's going to be beautiful, as Ryan says. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Oh, my Lord, look at this. People, if they saw it, they would love it. They should show the video. I keep telling Scientology, please, to show the video of the hall. No one would be opposed to it. It says L. Ron Hubbard Hall on it. That's why they're not showing it. The people of Clearwater would be furious to know that there's going to be another giant monument for Scientology, and the first one that has L. Ron Hubbard's name on it, for God's sakes. You don't even see Scientology's names on the building. You see a Scientology cross. You see flag. Way to Happiness, Narconon, Criminon, all these things that don't say Scientology, even though they do say Scientology. When you look at them, you go, oh yeah, there you go. That's Scientology for you. So it's a a tough battle to have for the city. No other city has to deal with something like this. So I don't, I'm not upset at all with City Hall. Um, this is insanity that they have to deal with. $3 billion cult calling the shots there in the city. I forgot the point I wanted to make.
You were about to tell me who in Ryan Cotton's family is against Scientology.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hey, wait a minute.
Hey, where'd my button go? Hold on. I got to use my Aloha button here quick. Aloha. Thank you, Rochelle, for giving a membership. I so appreciate that. Okay, so there's a couple questions here for you. Did you want to say something?
No.
Okay.
You think I'm Elmer Fudd and you're Bugs Bunny. I'm sorry, you're not going to trick me.
No, obviously in jest. I know I could not trick you.
I know.
You've been around a long time doing this, much longer than I have. Okay, where did it go here? Farrell Cheryl says Cotton gives frat boy energy, and I would agree with that.
And that's something that really amazes me about both Ryan and Mike Menino. There seems to be an arrogance in them when I watch them on the council.
Yeah, what do you think that's about? Is that just their personalities, or do they feel very emboldened because of Scientology?
It has to. It's not just Scientology that I see this, but there'll be times when it's like, wow, and I could be stubborn when talking about Scientology, especially on the council. But man, I see some flashes of anger from them from time to time. It's like,
yes, watching him in the video of that last Clearwater City Council meeting that you spoke at, and Aaron from Growing Up in Scientology spoke at, and Farrell Cheryl, a bunch of people, many Clearwater residents. It just blew my mind how he became visibly just upset and frustrated over this, and just continued to try and push it when it just didn't seem, I don't know, it just didn't seem, it seems like something's going on. I mean, something
it really wasn't that important. Not whether we approve the city hall or not, but whether we bring it back at the next meeting and vote on it then, so we can have some discussion on how we want to treat this other group that came forward with a proposal for the same street. And was on the council when I was there. We did that often. There'd be times when you're about to take a vote, but there's something new that has come up, and you go, all right, we'll just put it off to the next meeting, and that's it. But to be so furious that no, we have to do it now. I mean, it's just like, really?
Like, is somebody not going to get a bonus if it's done right now? This just seems very over the top.
Yeah, and I hate to say anything about corruption or anybody's being in Miscavige's pocket, but I mean, it certainly is easy to think that when you see how they were behaving.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just pretty remarkable.
Especially in the face of the sheer number of citizens who came forward to speak about it, who were not former Scientologists. There were a few former Scientologists, but the majority of the people that I'm aware of who spoke at the Clearwater Council meeting were citizens of Clearwater that did not have that former Scientology connection to Scientology, and who, what really stood out to me at that meeting is their reasons for not doing it weren't even all about because Scientology is a family destroying human trafficking cult. That was in part, but most of them were making really good points too, that they don't need the street to build the hall, that the street is actually used, right? Isn't it like another way to get to the beach?
It is. I mean, it's just one block. It's not a way to the beach necessarily. The Court Street goes past it to the beach, and Garden, you can turn off Court onto the Garden, and then you get over to the superpower building. It's a way to miss a stoplight at the corner so that you can more quickly dart through downtown.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary. It's not urgent that we have this. Of course, Ryan is convinced there's going to be this beautiful park for the public that Scientology is paying all the money to build it, and they're going to be taking care of it. It's not going to cost the city anything. It's going to be spectacular. Yeah, of course. Of course, it's going to have the 21 precepts of the way to happiness out there. So Ryan, being a deeply Christian person, if I had time in the meeting, I might have pointed out that, well, it's L. Ron Hubbard's version of the 10 Commandments, because he looked at those and said, well, I can do better than that. So instead of thou shalt not kill, it was don't murder anybody. Okay, let's put that on a stone marble thing out there and have this further tribute to Hubbard. And you think, like, people from the city of Clearwater, just locals, are going to be sitting there for this? No, it's going to be another empty eyesore.
You have experience with going into the green space. Share with everybody what happened when you sat down on a bench in their green space.
Well, yeah, when we were filming the couple episodes on Clearwater for Leah Remini's Scientology and the Aftermath, we had finished the interviews, and Mike said, hey, this would be a fun experiment. So I went and sat on a bench in a little park right across from the Sandcastle. Scientology owns that property, and there's a sign out in front of the park saying, this is dedicated for the people of Clearwater to enjoy. Feel free to thank us for giving you this lovely little park. So I went and sat on the bench, and the crew for the TV show were inside a van across the street shooting footage of me to see how quickly the police would be called. Well, they were called instantly, and 3 police cars showed up, and the officers, came over, and then, they got a TV crew running out of the van, and Leah Remini shows up, and Mike Rinder, and it's like, the scene then, just because I was sitting on a bench. Yeah. And I got to say, the police were fine. The police did their job. The police did everything that they, were supposed to do. They got the call from Scientology. It's one of these pestering calls that they get. Oh, gotta save us. There's somebody sitting on a bench. And the police came and said, okay, well, they're asking you to leave, and it's their property, so you'll have to leave. And I left. But it just shows how Scientology reacts if somebody they don't want steps onto their property.
Yeah.
Police, save us, please.
Call the popo. So and that's true, because even though it's a green space that supposedly is for the public, it's not, because they own it. And this would be the same situation with the green space they're proposing, because it is on their property. So in reality, they can build the green space and they can build L. Ron Hubbard Hall without this street, but it would still be a green space that they will have heavily surveilled. I mean, there's a license plate reader right under the bridge, right in Clearwater, between the Superpower building and the Fort Harrison. I just can't imagine. I mean, that's so invasive. And what other church, or where do you go where you're so heavily watched on cameras and have the police called on you because you sat on a bench?
Back in 99, when I first started shooting video on Scientology, I actually shot a little video I never used, but I went over to like various different churches and started rolling, and then I just kind of wandered up to the church and I sat down on a step or something, and I was looking around, going, no one's chasing me away, and just went to the mosque and everywhere I could to get footage of that. I wonder why. If I'm such a religious bigot that Scientology keeps saying, why is it only them who are so paranoid about having an SP nearby?
Yeah, the paranoia is crazy. Brooke Elliott's got a great question. Do you think that Scientology will send a representative to speak at the meeting on the 15th?
No,
And this is May 15th, the next city council meeting.
no, they won't. But they will have people like happened the last time. There'll be some people who Scientology will say, go out there and say nice things about us.
Mm-hmm.
People have been safe pointed already. But they're not going to step forward and say, yes, I'm from the Church of Scientology, and here's why I think we should do this project. Because they know they're not going to get a good reaction.
Yeah.
And they want to be under the radar. They don't want the people of Clearwater to know that there's an L. Ron Hubbard Hall going up. Otherwise, they would be publicizing it. They would be showing that video to the people.
And they've
They
not.
want to get what they
That's the
want.
thing. They've not shared
Yeah.
that video with the public.
No, of course not. That video was made expressly for the people on the council. It's a sales pitch to the only people who count, the folks who can say, yeah, go ahead and do it. You've got my blessing. You know, if the public really knew about it, you know, they'd be storming the castle with torches. If you know, if we still had torches, they're all in use with Trump. So.
Animal Audit Corner says that was a cowardly move on Miscavige's part by meeting with the council in secret. Then the city council and the mayor is going to be embarrassed later, and Lena will get her last word. Well, we'll see what happens there on the 15th. Hanratty wants to know, Mark, do you still suffer from any fair game?
Nope. I mean, I never really felt I suffered. It's kind of amusing. I mean, even when they tried to have me evicted from the condo I was renting when I moved back here in 2013, because there was a Scientologist living right next door to me, and the Scientology attorneys were writing letters and making phone calls to the head of the condo association. You can't let him live here. You have to evict him. And that guy said, oh, we did a background check on him. He's fine.
Yeah.
But, you know, they'll try to get away with what they can get away with. And so far, they haven't really made a dent.
Yeah.
It's kind of amusing with all the stuff that they do.
That seems to be pretty much the result. Not a lot happens, you know, these days, especially because like you mentioned earlier, even the media knows that it's, you know, Scientology is not going to go at people the way they once did. I think they learned quite a bit when they went after Debbie Cook, former Sea Org member, former Scientologist, who then, when they had her on the stand, started to sing like a canary and tell about all the stuff that was going on at the international base, at the Hole, and they shut her up and they slid that woman a check. They just don't do that anymore. And there are too many people speaking out about Scientology, not to mention the countless number of people never in Scientology who are speaking out and protesting Scientology, that they can't. What are they going to do? Harass everybody? You know, they'll try to a degree. I'm sure they still have their, you know, their trolls here and there on the internet, just like they always have since the beginning of the internet. But I think people have really wised up. And look at what happened in LA with the protesters early on. This last round of protests with the live streaming, Scientology reached out to the parents of a few of the live streamers who are adults. The live streamers are adults, to tell their parents what your child is doing. And the parents were proud because you're standing up to a family destroying human trafficking cult. It completely backfired. The methods they think that work, right? You're gonna just shame people for reasons that it's not 1950 anymore. You know, that they still hold that mentality and judgment about people and their, you know, how the world does not live their lives the way that Scientology thinks that they should.
Yeah. So you think Scientology is out of touch? Is that what you're saying?
I think they are incredibly out of touch.
They were doing the same.
Sure there's a group more out of touch than Scientology. I feel like the Amish are more in touch with modern day reality than the Church of Scientology and David Miscavige.
You know, they were doing that same thing with Anonymous back in 2008, following these, a lot of times teenagers wearing the Anonymous masks, following them to identify them and then sending letters to their parents, saying he's part of a dangerous terrorist organization. You should be aware of this.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? You know, it gets so over the top that you just have to go, well, this is nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not even like within the realm of reality. It's so contrary. They're, again, just not with the times at all. And I don't think they ever will be, because they have to follow the dictates of L. Ron Hubbard, and L. Ron Hubbard said to do things this way. So they have to be done. They just have to be done that way.
Yep.
Nancy McKenna says, nothing says we're a serious religion like snitching to someone's mom.
Love it.
That's true. Let me grab another one of these questions for you. Lily is asking, are council members' phones owned by the Clearwater Council? It would be interesting to see any text messages between Ryan and Davey.
Yeah, and you can request those. Everyone on the council is assigned a city cell phone. And, when I was on the council, I got regular monthly or every other month, I get a request for every single contact I made with anyone relating to Scientology. So I would have to turn over texts. I would have to turn over emails. I'd have to turn over phone records of who I talked to and for how long.
Who was making those requests?
It was always the same person from the flag office. Who was it? Was it? It could have been. I'm having a hard time remembering his name right now. There was a guy who looked like Jimmy Finlayson that I used to see all the time. Now, you probably don't know who Jimmy Finlayson is. He's a comic in the 30s and 40s who used to be a foil for Laurel and Hardy. He had a big handlebar mustache, but I'd have to look it up. But it's one of the big names that we all. Ben Shaw, I think it's Ben Shaw. I think was making the requests. Yeah, and that was regular. So and it took a lot of time and effort to compile all of this crap. And did they ever have anything to use against me? No.
Mm-mm.
No, there's never. I thought, oh boy, this would be great. They're going to put together a special Freedom magazine just about me to show how horrible I am. And they never did. Because if there had been something damning, they would have used it. What I did do, knowing that they were requesting everything, I would put signatures in my emails, and I would change them every month or a few months. So at one point, everybody who got an email from me, it told the entire story of OT3 as L. Ron Hubbard wrote it. And other times I put in, scathing comments from Hubbard or attacks on Miscavige at the end of every email. So these are public records. If you want them, there they are.
Just like as part of the signature of the email.
Signature. Yeah.
So the email could be about fire hydrants, but then it's...
Oh, yeah. It had nothing to do with Scientology usually. But there at the end, yeah. 75 million years ago, Earth was known as TGAC.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
But they keep all those records, I think, for 7 years. So you can still do a record request for all my stuff. Don't do it because the staff has to do a whole lot of work compiling all this stuff.
Yeah.
But you can get anything that you want. You have to pay for the Xeroxing of stuff. Essentially, it usually doesn't amount to too much. Mm-hmm. But you can make a records request to the city clerk and say, I'd like to have any comments, any conversations with Scientology to any of these people on the council or the mayor, and they will provide those records to you. I mean, they're by law required to do that.
Do you need to be a citizen of Clearwater or a resident of Clearwater?
Nope. You can be from Mars. It's going to cost you more to have them delivered there. But it's records can be requested from anyone throughout the planet.
Oh, that's interesting. Adam Carmona says they should call it LRH Hall, the rec center.
Wow. Like it?
WRECK for anyone who might
Hmm.
be in a vehicle right now, not one. See the comment. Rob Young Rin says, I would like to know all the nonprofits Ryan Cotton is affiliated with, and then I would look at their 990s.
I'm not sure that you could request that, but he may have some information on, I mean, if he had websites or you may find some background bio info of him. I don't think you're probably going to find that he's, part of the Way to Happiness Committee, anything like that. But
Yeah. Linda Lou is saying, is the shady way the street sale came about legal?
yeah. It's not unprecedented. And it doesn't need to be approved. Well, I mean, it needs to be approved if you want to sell it, but the city doesn't need to sell it to them if they don't want to. Just because Scientology is asking for it doesn't mean you have to say yes. But there's another church that, and we got a little guff from this too, from the folks who lived in this neighborhood. There's a big mega church on the outskirts of town, Calvary Baptist, which is it's a church I've attended a few times. I'm not a religious person myself, but Willie Rice, Pastor Willie, is a big supporter of folks who are willing to take on Scientology. Not financially, because he can't do that. You can't can't have your religion kind of getting involved in politics. But they had there's a little side street at that church, and the city owned part of it, and they wanted us to just kind of turn that part of the street over to them so that they can finish their parking lot, something like that. And I didn't see any real problem with it, although there was one person on the council, Kathleen, who I always supported, and she said, "No, we can't just give this to them. We have to sell it." So we sold it to them for a small price. But there were a lot of people who were upset. Why are you giving this to the church? Why? Well, you can't make any use of it the way it is now. I mean, it's not, So Scientology has that precedent to say, well, if you did it for Calvary Baptist, you should do it for us too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but Calvary Baptist is not destroying our downtown. In fact, they were chased out of downtown by Scientology. They used to be right across the street from Flag, and now there's they decided, let's get out of the area, and they now have churches everywhere. It's like one of these mega churches.
Wow. Monica Unknown is asking, how do they justify letting Scientology be on the Chamber of Commerce, amplify Clearwater? Are they a business?
They are not a business, although they are clearly a business and should be taxed as such. I mean, if you're selling books and materials and you're selling expensive auditing hours, that's a business.
Yeah.
And it's up to this Chamber of Commerce. It's up to amplify Clearwater if they want to say, no, you're not a partner. But I'm sure, they do put a lot of money into Amplify Clearwater. And they're a major force downtown, even though it's a destructive force. And people are afraid to go, wow, no, you can't be a part of this. You're a dangerous cult. So I think they just say, okay, well, that's life. I remember when I first ran for office, we had to go around to all these different groups, and each of the candidates would have a chance to sit down with them and make their pitch as to why you should support me. And I just remember going in there knowing they're never going to support me, and just kind of ripping into them about Scientology leaving all the buildings empty. And then for the re-election, I didn't even bother showing up for it. I said, it's a waste of time to try to talk to Amplify if they're going to be siding with Scientology on everything going forward.
Yeah, why would you? Northern Girl's asking, would there be minutes of the meetings between David Miscavige and the council members he met with?
No, those are not public meetings. Let me explain. There are minutes kept when the council is together, like at a regular council meeting or at the end of the month. There's going to be a public forum where all the people on the council will be able to answer questions. When that happens, then we have our court reporter there, and we have notes being taken and everything and published. Normally, if one person on the council is meeting with someone, which happens every day, essentially, somebody wants to meet with the council and pitch some project. That's not unusual. What's unusual is us having to go to them. Like Miscavige saying, I refuse to come to City Hall. Come see me instead. It's not unheard of. I certainly have attended. I have gone to other locations. Like we had a developer who wanted to build some apartments on our bluff. He had an apartment complex already established in St. Pete nearby, and he invited each of us individually to come and get a tour of the place to say, this is exactly what I want to put downtown. We got the plans already developed. We're just going to clone this downtown. We've got, several hundred apartments downstairs. We've got retail. We've got restaurants. It'll be lovely. So you go and hear the pitch from them and ask any questions you want answered. So that happens constantly. Going to Miscavige, that's rarer. But individual meetings, one-on-one with council members, that's not a public meeting. That's something that we do just to find out, what I should know before voting on any topic.
Sure. Northern Girl, if Scientology gets the street, what's to stop them from trying to get other streets around the various buildings?
Well, there's nothing to stop them from doing anything, but I don't think they'd get any other streets. This one block, it's just one short block. The rest of the street stretching on in other parts of the city, that's still going to be Garden Street for the public. But the other streets that they might want to claim, they go right to where we're building a new intermodal transportation hub for buses and taxis and Uber and all that kind of stuff. And so they're not going to be able to do that because the buses need to be able to go down a certain route to get to this place. So I don't think we have any fear of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be a lot harder sell. Do you have any? Have you speculated? What are your thoughts on why Scientology wants this street that they don't need to do their project?
First, I have to say to Marcy, I'm glad you liked intermodal.
Intermodal.
I was hoping I could come up with that word. I did not come up with it when I was talking about it on my channel. So what was your question again?
What is your theory on why Scientology has so intently wants this street, wants to own the street, even though they don't need to do exactly what they want to do with the green space and L. Ron Hubbard Hall?
Yeah, I think it's like what Aaron and I both said at the meeting the other night. I think Miscavige wants to be able to stop any protests in front of L. Ron Hubbard Hall. I think that's the whole thing. And he doesn't need the street for that. He can just get a permit for an event. and they can close off the street when there's an event going on, which would be what, 4 times a year, and that's about it. I don't think Hoyt had brought up an important point in his comments at the meeting, saying if they're going to be bringing in, folks who are putting on concerts, competing with our brand new amphitheater 2 blocks away and the Capitol Theater that does live events a block away, that is going to really hurt the downtown business for those places if they're going to be a competitor. I really don't think they will be, though. I think it's primarily being built just for the annual events, so they don't have to rent out Ruth Eckerd and all these other places, Staples Center, whatever. And I'm sure that they'll make the stage available for local groups to safe point Scientology further by saying, come hold your event right here. You have a graduation ceremony, or you want to do a fashion show, you want to do this, that, and the other thing. You can do it at the beautiful L. Ron Hubbard Hall. And while you're here, visit the L. Ron Hubbard Museum. And don't forget, rent your shoes at the L. Ron Hubbard Bowling Alley and spend some time there. There is a bowling alley being built into it, apparently.
What? No,
about that. Apparently, yeah. And I've been joking. I've been calling it the L. Ron Hubbard Hall, Bowling Alley, Museum, and Bistro. But they'll probably have all of those things in there. Yeah, they couldn't get a separate place for the L. Ron Hubbard Museum, so that's going there. And then a bowling alley it shall be.
You know what that tells me, though, when I think about that if Miscavige is wanting to buy the street purely to stop protests, it really shows then that he's acknowledging that these protests aren't going to stop, because this thing's not going to be built for 6 years.
Sure. And I think he's got to realize they're never stopping. I mean, the whole pattern of protesting Scientology is that it keeps going up. There are more and more people who are finding out and going to the street. I mean, it's remarkable. It was one big leap when Anonymous came out.
Yeah.
And now this new live streaming wave of people taking on Scientology, I can't keep up with it. I mean, all you folks doing interviews with people who are just coming out and have stories to tell, that, I mean, it's just going a mile a minute. So it's not going to get better for Scientology. But also the other thing that he does now at all of these events, like when he opens an ideal org, they will have potted trees that they will put out lining the event, so you cannot even peek through to see Miscavige on stage. And they'll be doing that anytime there's an event there as well. So does he need the street? No, he doesn't, but he wants it.
You would think, though, that even he knows that. You can get a permit to shut down the street.
Oh, yeah, he knows that.
But still, why buy the street? I still feel like there's something we don't know. I don't know if it's a part of another plan, like there's something else beyond it, because Scientology plays such a long game sometimes that what they often do today makes no sense. But in 5 years, it's like, okay. I mean, he waited out the Clearwater City Council to switch over.
Sure. But this is essentially creating just another large chunk of the Scientology campus downtown. And why let people interfere with their private campus? I don't want people driving through our campus. For God's sakes, I want to buy that for chump change of $1.3 million. And it'll be just a real nice, it should be walled off like the Vatican. I'd accept that. If they want to put up a wall around their properties, yes, let's do that. But it's it's nothing that's needed, but he definitely wants it.
Yeah, true. Monica Unknown says the long-term plan is to completely control Clearwater. And I would agree with that completely. They've been trying to do this for how long? To take control of Clearwater. That was always the plan.
Absolutely.
So the plan is still the plan. It's interesting to me to see what happens if it actually does go through. Like, what will he actually bring in the other businesses? Will he do those things? Because Brian Cotton was talking about there's this whole entertainment area. And
Well, if he does, I will go down there and I will partake in business, and we'll see how far I get. um, will I have my mugshot be up at the box office for the movie theater, for example? Will they allow me to go in and see a film there? And I think they probably would.
Well, they have to.
But
I mean, I get how maybe they could.
do they have to? It's a private business. I don't see why. I got turned away at a Scientology restaurant.
That's true, but it becomes exactly what they accuse you of being a bigot.
Sure.
They're being a bigot then. Well, because you're not a Scientologist.
Right. And we filed a complaint about it. Jeff Jacobson, who was the librarian at the Lisa McPherson Trust, we went across the street and had lunch at this restaurant that was run by Scientologists. And we didn't cause any problem. We just ordered lunch, enjoyed it, and paid our bill, and we're leaving. And as we got to the front door, this guy came over to us and said, "Listen, you guys were great. You didn't cause any trouble, but you're not welcome here. So please don't come again." And we, I was fine with that. But we filed a complaint about discrimination, and they said, "Well, you know what? You weren't discriminated about over your religion because you're not a Scientologist." So they didn't cite any other religion as the problem. So no, you haven't. So we're not going to do anything about this. So there you go.
Wow. JB808 has a question. What was the origin of making Clearwater the Mecca of Scientology? Was it simply due to its name, Clearwater? I asked the backstory of why they chose Clearwater.
Well, I got to tell you, I've heard the backstory from Jerry Armstrong. Do I remember every aspect of it? No. I think like most people think, well, Clearwater, that's why they chose it. Yeah. It actually came down to two different cities, and I forget what the other one was. But when Hubbard was sick of living out at sea, he finally said, "We've got to find a place on land. We need a place that's quiet, that we can go in low profile and not have any trouble." And it was down between Clearwater and this other city, and they decided that Clearwater had the properties they needed. They wanted to buy the Fort Harrison Hotel, which was for sale, and they bought the bank building there as well, which eventually became the home of OSA and other things. It's now the Welcome Center as well, to make you feel real welcome to be in the home of OSA.
I love that you put the Welcome Center as the lower level of OSA, the Office of Special Affairs.
So we just got unlucky. If it had gone the other way, the history of Clearwater would be completely different.
I agree. I think it would be more like Dunedin and other towns where there's just more that's happening.
Oh, yeah. Downtown would be so booming and so prosperous. Just like, as you mentioned, Dunedin, Safety Harbor is a few miles in another direction, not even on the water. And they have such a fun downtown area that people love going to. The only thing stopping Clearwater is Scientology.
Mm-hmm, truly. Suppressive Squirrel says Clearwater had the port dockage for the ship. Maybe. I don't know if they ever brought the ship in, though. I feel like the Apollo and all that always stayed out of America, out of the United States, which was the whole point.
I don't know that there's any major port in Clearwater where they could have docked. I mean, we certainly have plenty of ships here, but not big vessels like that.
That's true. Yeah. Does it matter to you? Not to me. Cotton admitted that they wanted 3 properties. Do you have any idea what the other 2 were?
Yeah, it's not the 3 properties that they want. It's 3 properties that they already own, and that the city said, okay, you got to start doing something with these buildings. So they actually started refurbishing this. And I mentioned it at the meeting, and I forgot to say .com at the end of the address. But if anyone hasn't seen it and want to take a look at it, oh, it's such a beautiful video. Ryan would be so happy to see this video. It's at clevelandstreetalliance.com. So you see, they are fixing up an old telephone company.
Mm-hmm.
And a Woolworth, and the video shows that they're going to be putting up a Woolworth sign just like it was originally when it went up in the 20s. Like, why are you going to have a Woolworth in there? I don't think so.
Let me pull it up. Is this it?
There you go. That is it. And it's a beautifully produced video, just like all of Scientology's videos now.
Oh, yeah. FW Woolworth Company, a historic retailer, reborn. So this is currently what they're saying they're going to do in downtown Clearwater?
Yeah, and they're working on these. So you can see some of the progress. The telephone building is one that I think was the first that they started ripping out. They have gutted it. So now it's like an empty shell without, I think that there's not even a wall on one side of it at this point. But the video painstakingly, in loving detail, shows every single thing they're doing to refurbish these buildings, including solar on the roof and the state-of-the-art, that and the other thing. And they look great. And that's why Ryan was so thrilled about the L. Ron Hubbard Hall video, because it's just as well produced as this, but it would say L. Ron Hubbard Hall on it. And nowhere on this site or in the video do you see anything that says Scientology is involved in this.
That's true. It says historic Cleveland Street, Clearwater, Florida, the different buildings. There's no tab for anything.
Nope. It is just a front group.
Yeah. Let me look. Yeah, there's nothing. What is it? Let's look at the bottom.
So this started when they wanted a property specifically for the L. Ron Hubbard Museum, which I was fervently against. They said, "All right, we'll do these three. We'll do what we promised to do for the entire downtown. We'll show you we can do this with these three buildings." Okay, I know you can refurbish them. You got the money to do that, and I know you'll do it well. But what are you going to put in it? Are you going to have a successful business in there? You're certainly not going to put a Woolworth in there.
Yeah.
And will that be confusing if people see a Woolworth sign and there's something completely different in there?
Is that Woolworth sign already there because it was an old building?
I think it was there. I think that everything has been torn off of the building now. But there seems to be some huge desire with Miscavige to put that historic sign back up there.
Yeah. Monica Unknown says, I drove down that street yesterday to get downtown. It was the most convenient route. Ryan Cotton told me 3 other routes to drive. They were longer and inconvenient.
Well, come on. Ryan is the council member. You have to take those routes because he's
Ryan
in the know.
Said so. Ryan said so, and he's learning all this from his daddy, Daddy Dave.
Listen, I like Dave. David Albritton is a good guy.
No,
I'm
not going to say David Miscavige.
Oh, Daddy David Miscavige. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, David Miscavige is daddy.
Gotcha.
This is funny. Suppressive Squirrel. I can't believe I've been a paid sub for over a year now. Love Natalie. Thank you so much. I love that you've been a member for a year. That's fabulous. Yeah, doesn't matter to you, not to me. Is wondering, has the local news picked up the story? Can we push it in that direction? If not, if so, can you recommend any things people can do to push it in that direction?
Well, you definitely can.
For being a member.
Yeah, you can definitely contact the local TV stations and let them know. It seemed like there was somebody there for that big meeting that we all attended, I got up and ran out before they actually finished voting on the street because Ryan was just driving me nuts. And
Yeah.
I could see, the argument was, should we postpone it? No. And he went so ballistic. I just finally said, oh, okay, I'm out of here. And I went to my car across the street, and there was somebody setting up to do a live newscast there.
Oh, yes. I did see that. Yeah, I did see
Yeah.
that. They covered it that night.
Yeah. They did not stop me and say, oh, Wise Beard Man, what do you think? I just walked by.
They should have, because the Wise Beard Man knows
they should have.
all.
Oh, my God.
Let me pull up again to show people, give them a little refresher here. Head over to Xenu TV and make sure you're subscribed to Mark Bunker's channel. He has so many videos on there from back in the day, especially. I have been loving going through those. I've gone and done some reaction videos. We went through some of the Jesse Prince video. I want to do more of that because it's just such an amazing resource. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that you're doing this.
So I spent all yesterday working on a radio show that I plan to play tonight. There was an appearance I made on a local station in Corpus Christi, which ultimately is where Marty Rathbun was living when I went down to interview him. But there was a host on that show, Eric Von Wade, who invited me on to talk about Scientology. And while I was on air, Pat Harney, the PR woman here for Scientology in Clearwater, called in to say, Bunker's a liar. He's a liar. So she got on with me, and we had an exchange there. And then they promised her, okay, you can come on tomorrow. We'll give you an hour to talk about this. Mm-hmm. And when she went on the next day, I called in, and they put me on the air with her so I could point out, I see now why you said this yesterday. That's an acceptable truth. And explained, TRL to the host, and really pissed off Pat. And I thought I'd lost those, but
can you explain what TRL is?
Training routine lie. It's a routine normally for folks who are going to be dealing with the media. It teaches you how to tell an acceptable truth,
a short story,
a lie. Yeah. So in this case, I was talking about Xenu on my hour-long broadcast, and she called in to say, I've been in this for years, and I've never heard anything about Xenu. And then the next day, when she was on, the host wisely said, where are you on the bridge here? And she said, well, actually, I'm not yet clear. So I got to call in and see, well, that's an acceptable truth. Yeah. That she told you yesterday, she had no idea, but that doesn't mean that it's not part of it. It just means she's not allowed to read that material.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was I thought a really fun broadcast that I thought I'd lost because it was on my old site, which, no longer exists. And the fine folks at my channel said, hey, if you just go to the Wayback Machine, you can probably find it. And I did. I found a bunch of radio shows that I thought were lost. So
we have that to look forward to.
Yeah, so I've got 3 versions of it. I'm going to play I put together both full shows. So each of them without commercials runs like 45 minutes. So you can listen to the whole thing if you want. Yeah. Tonight I'm going to play a very shortened down version of that. And I've also just created a small clip of like 7 minutes to show that particular exchange. So we'll have all of those up after the live stream tonight.
That is so exciting. And I would encourage people too, if you enjoy Mark's work, it is so much work that he's putting into this. If you go to his channel, he's got his links on there and ways that you can support him in doing this. I think that it's so time consuming that, any support, I'm sure would be greatly appreciated to kind of like compensate you for all the time, because we need you to keep doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah, Daddy's got bills to pay, and I just paid. I bought this software that does the upscaling of all my old footage, and it's so good. It was so worth the money. I think I paid like $300 for it.
Wow.
But now they said, oh, we're going to turn it into a subscription service. So, every year you have to pay another fee in order to continue to get the upgrades. But it's so worth it that I said, okay, well, here's my damn money.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Even more of a reason. I know all that stuff costs money. So go over to Xenu TV right there. Mark, this was so much fun. I really appreciate you coming on. I know that we'll do it again because there's always so much to talk about.
I always enjoy chatting with you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And everybody, please remember to hit that like button before you head out. Check your subscribe. That is your homework before y'all go running off here. All right. Thanks so much, Mark. Everybody, I hope you have a great cult-free evening.
Goodbye.